Okay, cool. So for KJV, it reads as follows. And when he had removed him, him being obviously King Saul for context,
Zion.
when he had removed him, he raised up unto them David to be their king, to whom also he gave testimony and said, I have found David, the son of Jesse, a man after mine own heart, which shall fulfill all my will. And so that's an important piece, again, for context. And most of y'all know this story. Luke is the writer of the book of Acts, but he's writing about a speech given by Paul, the Apostle Paul, to a group of elders and leaders from a local synagogue, I believe in Antioch, if I'm not mistaken. And he's sort of, in the course of this talk, this presentation, he's sort of making the case for Christ, as the Messiah. And in the course of that, he sort of cuts across the field, and part of his presentation is just about the life of David and how he came to assume the throne and how God appointed and anointed him. And so we all know the story, being the least of the sons of Jesse, right? So Samuel, the prophet, was called to anoint a king. God sent him over to Jesse's house, and Jesse went there. He rolled out all his sons, says, "Is this the guy? Is this the one you want? Is this the?" And God was like, no. And Samuel was like, all right, do you have any more sons? Like, he went through the first 7. It was like, what's going on here? And then Jesse does the oy vey, like, yeah, there's, the runt who's in the back. He's I knew you would like that one, Steve. Oy vey. So anyway, the runt who's in the back, he's tending sheep. Like, he's doing this. I didn't even, think about it. So let's bring him. And God was like, yeah, let's bring him out, right? And sure enough, David ends up being the one. And so, obviously the moral of the story, being the fact that while the other brothers, his other older brothers, right, they were busy strutting and faking the funk and looking the part, he was actually doing the work. He was actually, get this, he was actually building his resume. He was actually building the resume. While everybody else was talking, they were peacocking, right? They were strutting around. He was actually doing the work. So he was doing the kind of stuff that qualified him to become king. He was doing the shepherding. He was tending the sheep. The Bible seems to indicate that maybe his hands was dirty. He was ruddy. He was like all in the mix coming out from the back of the field. He was doing the kind of stuff that a leader who being called upon to do that kind of work, he already had that kind of experience. So much so that at one point, it says that he said that he had killed a lion and a bear, like with his own hands. All the kind of stuff, that the protecting, the shepherding, the leading, all the service, right? All that kind of stuff that a king is supposed to do. That's the kind of stuff he was doing. So I would submit to you that the first thing that is required and is necessary to be a man who God chooses is to be a man who God chooses, is to be the kind of man who's doing the kind of stuff that God can look at and be like, yep, you're my guy, right? Sometimes I think that we get caught up in what people think, how we look and come across to people, and we want to curry their favor. We want them to perceive us, and that's that, again, male ego or whatever, that we think that like people should accept us, or we want to earn the approval of other people, that they will respect us. And really the person whose approval and whose calling we want to seek after, obviously, is God's. And so there, again, we're talking about resume, David's resume. So the question becomes, and I don't want you to answer it now, but I just want you to think about it for the rest of our discussion. The question I want you to think about is, what's on your resume? What's on your resume? Relative to the thing that you said, you raised your hand, you said that you want, you want to pursue, you want to achieve. Is that something, can God trust you based on your life experience? So just think about that as thing number one. We'll call that thing number one. Thing number two, all right?